Security information are sensitive information. If I pass on an information to you now that is not such require and not such of a general nature, those people that are perpetrating those insecurity, they are also listening, they are also reading that report, then they will be able to now know the way we think and the way we want to address them, and they will, of course, they will change, their color like chameleon. Today, the Senate played host to the key leadership of the Nigerian security apparatus, the Chief of Defence Staff, who led the service chief, that is the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Naval Staff, and the Chief of Air Staff, and the Director of Defence and Intelligence, the DG of Nigerian Intelligence Agency, the Director General of SSS, and of course the Inspector General of Police. At an executive session, they briefed the Senate comprehensively on the state of security in the country, analysis of the various operations and theater of activities that they are engaged in, the topography across the 6 geopolitical zones of the security situations, the complexities and the challenges that are being faced, and ways by which they believe the parliament can work together with the executive and the heads of security agencies to ensure that we rein in the atmosphere of insecurity and ensure a long-lasting peace and security for our country. And the Senate leadership expressed our gratitude for their forthrightness, for their being very open with us, and we are committed to ensure that all necessary legislative and appropriation support will be given to all the relevant agencies as may be subsequently requested. I think that's what transpired in summary. I will take it one by one so that I don't. First and foremost, we did not talk about money. We did not talk about figure. We spoke just like high-level discussion on general challenges and requirements for us to have an efficient and effective security. The details of whatever will go into supplementary appropriation can only be worked upon by the Ministry of Finance, which is an executive arm, together with our relevant committee. And such are not matters that we will go into details in this regard. But of course, everybody knows that security is a serious matter for which you cannot take with levity when it comes to ensuring that appropriate appropriation for that. Just as the President of the Senate has said last week, we as a National Assembly, we are committed to ensuring appropriate appropriation of adequate funds, but we cannot be going into figures until the relevant arm of government are done what they're supposed to do and bring relevant supplementary budget. So we are ready to receive supplementary budget. You asked question as to synergy. We don't have any doubt that there's synergy among the federal security agencies. In fact, from the nature of the briefing that we received, it reassured us as elected as well the people that there's indeed a synergy, and in any event, even the sources that have been made, which are apprised of, it's like security is something that you only feel the impact when there are breaches. Nobody will give you credit for security situations that you have been able to address and attend to. For instance, we have a tremendous status quo report that showed that a lot had gone into stemming the tide of insecurity in Nigeria. Perhaps if not for that synergy and the effort that has gone in terms of operationalizing, in terms of putting the Nigerian security organization, particularly the Air Force, in proper shape, perhaps would have been in a more terrible situation. So the story is about how far we have gone, but then there is room for improvement, and we are committed to that improvement. I think Umodu have answered your questions.
Nigerian Tribune. When the army chief was expressing his frustration on the level of alarming insecurity in the nation while he was briefing you,
army chief did not brief us.
When he was giving you reports.
You are not there, so I don't know where you get what he said. The chief of army staff did not say anything.
Okay.
He did not even utter a word. Please, you have to be careful. This is a serious matter. Chief of army staff did not utter a word. So, no. Chief army chief. Which army chief?
Defense chief. Okay, chief of defense staff.
Yes.
When he was expressing his frustration.
Frustration where?
To you.
To us. Were you there? He did not express. I didn't see frustration. I don't know. Please. This is a serious matter. Were you there? Because this is about information. I'm trained as a lawyer. You can only give evidence of what you see when you perceive with any of your senses. Either you saw it, or you perceive it, or you smell it, or you in any of your five senses. Were you there? It was a closed session. So where did you see story of frustration? I said what we have was a status quo analysis, analyzing the strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat to security in the country. So where is the frustration? Please, we need to be very careful so that we don't go and misinform Nigeria. It's an high-level meeting, and there was no story of frustration. In fact, I personally became upbeat listening to the level of work they have done. Please, we need to be careful. It's not a question of politicization or scandalization. It's about ourselves. There's no society that can survive. You cannot practice your profession in an atmosphere of insecurity. I cannot be a politician in an atmosphere of insecurity. So we should not politicize. So that you can only talk of what you know. You are not there, and you are not there unless you can produce evidence that you are there and part of the proceedings.
My second question, the last one. When did the military assure you that it was going to come with the supplementary budget? And secondly,
military does not come with budget, please. I said I've addressed the question. Military does not do budget now. Is the process is by the executive branch, and I've addressed Imodu's question. After listening to the briefing, I personally became upbeat that a lot of work had gone into addressing the problem of insecurity, and from the perspectives, various perspectives that were brought into the discussion, which is very frank, clear, without any form of any duplicity, it became very clear that we are not only looking, that Nigerian security agencies are not only looking at the internal dimension of the challenge we have. We look at all ramifications, both in terms of the political context, economic context, and international context, and the general, African context, to development. Even perspective as to what happened recently in Chad was also considered. So it's a very thorough discussion, and I also believe that the forthrightness of the leadership of security agencies showed the seriousness that they attached to that exercise. So I believe that going forward, definitely the confidence had been built between the security chiefs on one hand and the Nigerian parliament on the other one, and that will be a good signal of what we expect in the future. If you had watched the proceedings when we resumed back at the plenary today, the president of the Senate made some concluding remarks before adjourning today. One of it was touch on the readiness of the Senate to receive the report of the Committee on INEC on Electoral Reform, and it is hoped that before we eventually proceed on the annual recess, this year, the work on the Electoral Act would have been completed. So it's not something that we gloss over. It was specifically touched upon by the President of the Senate today at the conclusion of our hearing. Then on the question of executive legislative relationship, I will say that the country has been a winner for it, and I will give you a clear example of what we have been able to achieve. In the atmosphere of cat and mouse relationship of the 8th Senate, you have a situation whereby the budget cycle of the country became totally unpredictable. You will know that in a country like ours, a third world country, relying on public expenditure as a driving force of our economy, the predictability of our budget cycle is very important. In the past 2 years of the 9th Senate, we have been able to ensure predictability and return to January to December budget cycle. Part of the benefits of our working relationship was also that you will discover that even when the 2020 appropriation was to expire in December, but it was discovered by the legislative arm that many of the funds for capital projects had been released, and that the process of retrieving them back to the treasury may lead to loss of some of those resources. We had to intervene to make an extension of the implementation of the capital aspect of the 2020 budget till first instance the end of March, and then later to the end of May, to ensure that there will be proper reflation of the economy. And that also perhaps attests to one of the reasons why the country was able to immediately exit the recession that occurred in the last quarter or so of last year. Another fruit of our collaboration in this regard was also the ability to pass the deep offshore and inland profit sharing law, which had been stalled for the past 15 years. And the effect of this was to expand the revenue base of the government. And of course, you also see the Finance Act, which was able to raise the rates of value-added tax, at the same time insulating the vulnerable in the society from that tax, and ensuring that small businesses are also insulated, such that if you don't have a turnover of 25 million and above 25 million, you are not amenable to payment of VAT. So I would say that an atmosphere of cooperation towards ensuring development of the country is essential for democratic governance, and that is why there has been tremendous progress in being able to address the challenges that we have in our economy. Which other decentralized body that we want to talk to that will be able to address the matter for us? I don't know. As of today, I stand to be corrected whether there are state structures that deal with security outside the framework of those that the National Assembly adopted. So there's a difference between when you talk of a law, we call it lex lata and lex ferenda, the law as it is and the law as it ought to this. And we can only deal with the law as it is, not what Latin people call lex ferenda, which is the law as it ought to be. I hope I'll be able to address your question. The layman like me, as much as we are laymen, should also know that security information are sensitive information. If I pass on an information to you now that is not such require and not such of a general nature those people that are perpetrating those insecurity, they are also listening, they are also reading that report. Then they will be able to now know the way we think and the way we want to address them, and they will, of course, they will change, I mean, their color like chameleon. So I would say that it suffices to say that we were properly briefed on the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and various challenges in our security architecture, and we are satisfied as a body, and we are also being told what we need to do more to ensure that we we will attend to the problem of insecurity. But for to begin to go to say this is what we will do to A and B on the national television or to newspaper men, and I think the laymen will even think that this Senator Ajibola Bashiru is not a very serious-minded individual.